Hey everybody, it's Mike over here at Growtopia. And I have an interesting one for you today, and I've been experimenting with this for several days, and I've come up with this crazy thing. Well, for starters, let me give you some good news. The rest of the missing plants from the first order has arrived, and yes, that is a security camera, so I can watch what goes on in here when I'm not in here. So finally look at the hydrangeas now. The hydrangeas definitely have amplified in size. And then you could see this is the one that came in. So this is how it comes to you from the store, and this is what happens when it spends way too much time inside the nursery. I showed you guys the repotting of Johnny Appleseed over there, the coffee plant. The rest of my pink mully grasses came in, and I guess they only had 3 gallons because I originally bought 1 gallons, and they sent me three gallons. So it's not the end of the world. Now I just have bigger ones to put in different spots. And one of the tricolor white dapples came in as well. And then I moved everybody around. I got the lemon and the lime next to each other that are looking really good. I got my banana next to them. I got something I've helping take care of for my mother. And then I got my carryover peppers from last year. And I got all this watering to do. But one of the things I really want to show you guys is the coolness of things, right? So look at the height of a lot of these tomato plants. I mean, I got tomatoes over here as well. I got tomatoes here. I got tomatoes down there. Bell peppers. Some basil in here. This is borage. And I'm going to bring them over and show you guys. And we got some other stuff that's under the dome. And we got some other stuff that's in containers and so on and so forth. So what have I been doing differently on why I made this video today? Well, one of the things I've been doing differently is I've been keeping the door shut to this bedroom. And the reason why is because now that it's starting to get a little overwhelmed or overloaded with different plants and stuff in here, I don't need my cats and stuff to get in here and get into the water and knock stuff over. Now, they never really knocked anything over, but one of my cats had discovered, even though it was cute a couple times, but has discovered the heating mat is really great for warmth. And she has a tendency to claw things when she's on it. So to keep her from clawing the shit out of the mat and getting electrocuted and damaging it, I kicked her out of here, and now the door stays closed. Well, at first it was like, all night long, and like, why ain't the door closed? Well, actually it turns out to be a very beneficial thing. So if you are doing this indoors like I am, you have a little special room that does have a baseboard heat on it. See, I think I got lucky because I have baseboard heat. We keep our temperature at 60 degrees. And currently, right now, this is the only room in the house that is the warmest and is humid. And it actually works right. I have no humidifier in here. So how am I keeping the humidity in this room? I honestly I think it's the amount of plants that are getting water plus the heat mats and probably the baseboard is what's keeping this like nice humidity in here. And it's a dry, it's not like a super like moisture in the air. Like when I look at the humidity, right? So the temperature in this room right now is 70 degrees. It's 70 in here, right? Okay. And the humidity is at 55, which is considered comfortable, which it is. But I can feel the humidity in here. This is probably why I sound like I'm fucking trying to run up a hill. I could definitely feel the heaviness of the humidity, but it's good. A lot of these plants are loving it to the extreme. I mean, I'll take and show you, look at the tomato. The tomato, right? So we had clipped it up, and then now it's going up there. And then another shoot shot off and went that way. Another sucker went in that direction. And then we got another tomato plant going that way. So it's pretty cool. I don't know why I put you in front of the pole, but so let's start grabbing some of these trays, start watering them. If you guys want to stick around and watch, otherwise like, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. There'll be another video, but if you want to stick around and see what I got growing on, you guys can see the plants instead of just looking for a quick tip. But if you are trying to figure out how to keep like stuff warmer, oh, and then the other thing too is now that it's warmer in here, as I go by the heating units, because it's staying in the 70s in here, Plants that don't need to be on heat mat because the temperature is staying warm, I just unplug it from the circuit, from the surge protector, and you save a little power that way. But I just got my electric bill, and for 3 months, with computers running, with these things running, yeah, we got 2 computers that run probably good 12 to 16 hours a day. Probably more like 12. Let's be realistic, but 16 hours maybe. A TV set. We have an oil burner that kicks on and off. Oven once in a while. A deep fryer. We keep the lights off in the house except for like in here obviously with the grow lights. Grow lights running. Heat mats running. For a grand total of 3 months plus a refrigerator. So all the other miscellaneous appliances that are in a house, $384. Not bad. That's way less than I thought. I thought this was going to be like, $700-800 running this. So you could do this yourself, and it is affordable. And like I said, that's 3 months, so basically $100 a month. Really not bad. In a house that was built in 1960s, 1950s, and stuff. So maybe that's why, because I can't really run fancy appliances because I got old wiring. It's only meant for a certain amount of voltage, so maybe that's why. I don't know. Anyway, let's start grabbing blades. Whoa, I don't know what the heck's in this thing, but there's a lot of leaves. Now, one of the old ways that I used to do stuff was when it touched the lid, it went in the greenhouse, which was last year. Last year, I started planting seeds, probably around like almost now. I didn't really start getting into it as much as I did. So now that I started earlier, now there's a problem with that because now I gotta make sure that stuff is ready to go outside. I don't know about you, but I don't think they need the lid anymore. And especially now in here with the right amount of humidity, because we are leaving the door closed. That's the other thing too. So before, when the door was open, and you guys are going to laugh at me, because I've been doing experiments for, quite some time recently. I've been on vacation from work for 6 to 8 weeks, 2 to 8 weeks. So, 2 to 8 week vacation, it's great. Not getting paid for it. And no, it's not a permanent vacation, although sometimes I'm wondering if it should be. But anyway, in this side here we have cucamelons. In the center we have cucumber. And on the right we have zucchini black beauty. You guys can take a look at those. So what have I been up to? Other than staring at the wall and playing video games? No. Staring at the wall, definitely not. I've been experimenting with different things. Now, before, what I was getting at. When the door was open, and I was running everything as is, I would have to almost water them like Thursday, Friday before Sunday, because I'm trying to do a week of watering like I used to do. You could see these guys are full, definitely got some liquid on them. And I wouldn't say the tray is full of water, but I would say they're definitely still damp. Now, of course, yes, they had the top on them, so that makes a difference. Now, they still feel... They got a little dampness to them. I'm going to give them a little splash of water. And I'm running 2 different waters. I'm running straight water that is out of the pot over there that's mixed of the water that I dump from the orange containers and different containers into it. And I get this like slurry. It's like muddy, peaty. It's good. It's water with soil and natural minerals and stuff in it. So it's almost like a natural fertilizer. And then I'm running a mix of liquid fertilizer. Well, not really liquid, but it's basically like liquid fertilizer. It's JP's secret fertilizer, secret seasoning, his secret stuff. And I just put it in the water, just put a certain amount in there. So it was, I don't know, I forgot what it was, a couple tablespoons in there. Just mix it up. And that's it. And I just water into the plants periodically. So, really nothing much to it. But anyway, what I've noticed is since the door has been closed, when the door was open, I had to water it more often. And if I left the fans on it in here for longer than like 5 hours, everything would dry out. Well, now I've left the fans on low with the door closed, and they didn't dry out like bone dry. They had a little dryness to them, but they weren't bone dry. So there's definitely something to say about keeping the door closed, because it's obviously it's airtight because the door is tight to the freaking carpet on the ground. So it definitely has some type of a form of air tightness in here, for sure. Water, literally just a little bit of water, not a lot. That's it. We're not putting the lid back on it, so we took the lid off. And we are sticking them right back on the shelf, guys. Get a good glimpse of that. This is the kind of stuff that you can do at home and grow at home. And if you're interested and you're in the local area, you could also buy it from me as well. And I could sell you a fully ready-to-go cucumber. Simple, right? Alright, alright, alright. Let's see. Any more? Excuse me, Mr. Plant. Yeah, like. I'm plugging that one. That one's good. Okay. Just unplug 2 racks over here because I don't need them. Show you guys some of the other cool stuff. Here's some of our other tomato plants that we have. Now we've had these for a while, and we moved them into these pots. Now it is a little bit, or it is extremely over, a lot in one spot. And what you're seeing, if you guys get to see back here, really hard to see it with the phone. You see how many stalks that are right there? Now, this is the one thing that irritates me that I see people doing. They thin their plants. Stop thinning your plants. Thinning is where you kill off other plants, so you only have the strongest. What you should do is stop planting tomatoes and keep what you have growing. I have several plants in here that I could literally separate and turn into 10 to 12 different plants. So at the rate that they're at right now, last year I was growing at least 3, sometimes 4 to 5 tomatoes in one spot. And the only problem that I had was just keeping up with the clips. Just clip, 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 clip. They grew fine. Water, fertilizer, no problem. Everything was fine. They had JPs, they'll get JP watered here and there, like this. And then they would get bone meal. And what I do is I'd mix bone meal in with I would mix bone meal in with eggshell powder. I would mix it together and I would add it to water. Man, that's a funky smell, but it works great. And I would just water everybody. Everybody did good. And it's gonna get funky in here, so I'm gonna start that. Air freshener going. And everybody, and what I do is I like to mess around with the fans. So I do with the fans is that they got 3 settings. So it's going to turn it on low, the first setting. It gives enough of a breeze where it gets them to move a little bit, but they're not swaying and it's not draining tons and tons of water out of the pots. So it definitely helps a lot. But look how green these suckers are. I mean, these things are, there's no filter on the camera, no nothing. These things are just green. These are some green freaking tomatoes. And they're healthy too. And they're growing great. And I just need like another couple more weeks. And then they're getting out. They're going straight outside. they're not going from one spot to another. They're going straight outside to the garden. And I got plenty of plants in here for my customers to divvy up as well. We got plants, we got tomatoes here, we got tomatoes over there, we got tomatoes everywhere. Okay, and then I take the water, like I said, and I take my pot and I dump it into, so on and so forth. Here we go. Oh, nice. It's not sitting, not a lot of water. All right, cool. So now as it's getting closer to that time of year to start putting stuff outside, that's when I start really shutting the heat mats off. Because now I want them to start getting used to different temperatures. Now with the heat mat, they still get used to different temperatures, but you don't need them now at this point. Once you start getting like a nice heavy amount of heat or temperatures that are staying inside your growing area, you don't need to keep worrying about heat mats. You could start literally shutting them off, because it's gonna have that. It's the temperatures are warming up, and you really don't need to waste electricity and stuff just to heat something at the temperature that it's at. Ah. Nasty. Okay. Well, that was gonna happen sooner or later. Okay. And one of the great things about shutting the heat mats off is that now, when it comes down to plant placements on the shelves, see now on the shelves I can only hold 3 orange plant. Actually, I can hold 4. I discovered that one. I can hold 4 orange planters, or I can hold 2 orange planters and 1 tray, or 3 trays on one shelf. Well, now once you shut the heat mat off, you could load that shelf all the way up, which opens other shelves to other things. But the thing is that I have to keep in mind is that the shelves that I need the grow lights coming out of are the shelves where all the other plants are. Now, I could always just, if I don't need those shelves, I could just leave those grow lights on, but I rather condense the shelves where the lights are at. So not only are they lighting up the plants on the ground, such as the coffee plant, the hydrangeas, and the all the other, the banana, the lemon, the lime, the triple dapple white willows, and the muley grass. At least they're still getting their light. So those are the 1, 2, 3, 4 shelves that I'm going to focus on condensing all this shit onto. Alright, let's grab our next tray. Let's see what we got. So we did the tomatoes. So you guys are off now, right? Yep, so I can just shimmy you guys over more. Shimmy, 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 shimmy. Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. There's really nothing to stick over there at the moment, so. Everybody in the limelight. Make sure I put the fan on that one. Yep. I'm going to turn this one's fan on. Molly grass is trying to kidnap me as I walk away. So these are Brussels sprout Long Islands. Literally 1 full tray of them. Brussels sprout Long Island. There's really nothing much going on in here. I'm going to leave the lid off from them now, just so that they don't get moldy. Why am I leaving the lid off? I'm starting to see a little bit of mold growing in here. So I'm going to leave that lid off and give them some water, throw them on the shelf, Put the fan on them, and there's other stuff I'm going to be grabbing as well. But this is them right now. They're starting to pop up, which is great. So, you know, like I'm starting to see a little white mold here and there, little fuzzy stuff. So that's always a telltale sign that mold is basically starting to grow on your tray. It's time for you to take the cover off. That's it. Alright, here's our next one. And what we have here is broccoli romachessa. We have cauliflower white and cauliflower purple, and I'm also starting to see the same coloration of stuff. Make sure that we nice little water in, keep the lid off. Back on the shelf they go. Now, one of the other things I've been up to actually recently, for probably about almost a week, is actually taking apart another one of the rooms in my house and turning it into a grow room, of course. Let's see. Thermometer out. Don't need the thermometer in there anymore. Excuse me, Mr. Plant. Oh, that's funny. Not really. I couldn't find aluminum trays before I found them. That's funny. Not really, but it is kind of funny. Okay. Rid of these guys. Hey. Alright. So this one, not a lot of growth going on in it. We have Swiss chard, we have cabbage, green cabbage, and red cabbage. These we're going to constantly, basically probably just reseed over and over again until finally, I honestly believe that I have a bad batch of seeds. Because I look back at stuff I grew last year, I had no problem with the seeds that I had. Now, this different batch of seeds, it just seems like nothing takes off. So, crazy. But I'm turning one in my other rooms that I have in my house that even with the door closed, it always stays like 50, 60 degrees in there. And I thought, man, what a great place to grow brassicas virtually almost year round. Now the problem is during the summer the room gets very warm. So it'd be a great room to grow things such as peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers, stuff that, I mean, unfortunately cucumbers and stuff, they need a little bit of pollination from bees, or you could sit there with a Q-tip. But a lot of our other stuff like the tomatoes or peppers, zucchinis and stuff we can mess around with. We can grow literally in that room during the summertime. And what we basically did is we literally looked through about 30 plus years of our shit, and then some. 30 plus years, yeah, easily. And went through a lot of shit and literally filled the army truck up like. So there will be a video on this channel of me taking the army truck to the dump and leaving the dump with just me and the army truck and hopefully nothing else in the bed of it, except for I think there's a milk crate in there I forgot to pull out. But it is loaded. I mean, I'm gonna look like the Beverly Hillbilly junk edition going down the road. It is just so much crap in there. Alright, you guys can get unplugged as well. Donk. Donk. Or Mr. Plant, you're in a weird spot. Every time I go to drop something down, I drop it on you. Alright, buddy. Another batch of guys here. Some celery. Spaghetti squash. Not too much going on in here. But I'm basically at a point right now where I'm not growing anything else this year. I'm I'm basically just gonna try to keep stuff alive, and then whatever doesn't take, I'm gonna get rid of it and just basically replace with what I'm growing over and over again. There's a lot of stuff here. There's a lot of stuff that's dead. Like I got celery that's growing great over here. I got an eggplant plum long that's here, a rosa that's great, and everybody else around it is just like nothing going on over here. It's just it's a battlefield. Basically, a lot of the stuff that's in this tray is stuff that was in the trays before when I was condensing everything down before starting a new batch of stuff. So it could be just a mixer of a lot of old stuff that just it wasn't going to take off to begin with, and this is where they are. Back here we have our Italian basil. So far we only have a couple of them. The midsection is the borage, which looks freaking phenomenal. Can't believe how good it's looking. Then we have green bell peppers. And then we got red bell peppers. This is what I got growing so far for my customer. Not a lot, apparently. But which is good because I'm going to be able to, basically anything that's not growing that I got to push this year, such as like the Italian basil and stuff, I'm just going to end up having a tray of it. Which is where I'm going to start condensing all the stuff in here once I, what is it, March, so April. Basically, between April and June is when our last frost date is. This is when you really want to start making sure that you have what you have and what you want to do with it. So you're keeping it in for the summer, or it's going out for the summer. So, my little experiment over here with my celery and my tomato plant that's taking over the nursery, they're staying in this front shelf, except for like probably the tray next to it. Everybody's going outside minus the basil. So they're all those two are staying in. Now I'm gonna see if I can grow tomatoes inside. And there's a big basil that's growing inside, so I have a large leaf Italian that's growing, so I'm gonna keep that inside. So that's basically it, the Italian, the basil, and the celery. And that's just gonna be my little guys right there. But everything else is going outside to where they gotta go and where they're gonna get planted. And that's when stuff really starts to take off. That's when you really start to have this insane that goes on. And when I transplant my plants, what I do is I take eggshell powder, JP's secret mix stuff, and I do a small mix together. And when I make the holes, I put a little bit in each hole. Boom, 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 boom. Put it in there nice and deep. Make sure that if this was a tomato plant, so I'm going to put the soil just about below the leaves, because this whole plant, if you notice, it's got little hairs on it, and the little hairs are roots. So as soon as those little hairs are below the soil, you got a stronger root system, and the tomato plant can handle a lot stronger winds, especially if you have it on the string trellis. But anyway, so then I'll plant them in there, and then I'll top dress them a little bit with a mix of the eggshell powder, which is great. So that'll be all nice. They get watered in, and I don't fertilize them again until they start making flowers. So once they pop with their flowers, the next time I fertilize my tomatoes is when the flowers start appearing is when I start fertilizing them, and it'll be eggshell powder and bone meal powder mixed together, and that's it. I never fertilize. There's people like, oh, you got to fertilize your tomato plants every 2 months. No, you don't. I was getting big, juicy tomatoes all the time. Didn't have to go insane. You guys saw that, and you guys are going to see that again on the way my tomatoes are. I got a lot of plants to go through, so I'm just going to try to make this quicker. Let's see. So that was our basil and marigolds that haven't taken off yet. Like I said, I'm going to start squishing these things down. We're going to condense all this. So here's another batch of tomatoes for my customer. And I know we have tomatoes over there. And we have one, like, look at this one. Look at the amount of tomato plants that are in here. There's way more than they're going to actually need. Literally, it's only two people. They don't need a lot of tomato plants. So I'm going to be having to split that tomato plant up and only giving them X amount of plants out of it. We have like, we have three of them running across. So right now we have, in this one pot alone, is about easily 12 tomato plants. 12, 24, there's at least 10 in there. So even though I don't like having a lot of tomato plants in one spot, just because it becomes a little nutty, but what's going to be great with that is you could split it up and I can put them in different spots. So we got like the 2024 mix that's doing good. We have Amish paste right across the board. We got pink Brandywine tomatoes. We got yellow pears, and then super sauce tomatoes have finally started to grow, which are the ones that are good for making tomato sauces, supposedly. And I got the other tomatoes that I planted for them early on. Now they're only going to be able to handle 7 tomato plants. Now why am I overplanting for them? Well, because I got tired of sitting in this restriction of only having a certain amount of plants. So what's fine is, even though I can overplant for them, I got plenty of room for me, and push out the selling of them. Selling to others. There's another tray. This has got different types of basils in it, some more borage right at the nose of it. We got sweet basil, we've got purple basil, marigolds, basically anything that was left over from other trays. All ended up in this tray. Yeah, we got a marigold finally. So we're gonna have it's gonna be basil and marigold trays very shortly. Just strictly one tray basil, one tray marigolds on a rack at the end of the month. And to our peppers, we have a jalapeno plant, a maconi, we have a golden bell pepper, another golden bell pepper, maconi, alaham, red bell pepper, green bell pepper, another red. So we got some bell peppers so far that are doing pretty good. That's why I kind of was like laughing at the overwintering. So if my overwintered peppers actually come out and they actually survive, that's going to be great. Do I see them actually coming out of the funk that they're in? Maybe, maybe not. It's hard to tell. But I'm not getting too worried or concerned about it, because I could just always regrow pepper plants every year. And I had, every time I'm cooking peppers or anything, I basically try to get as many seeds as possible out of the peppers. And look at this glass tray, just full of pepper seeds. Of course, it's a whole bunch of different pepper plants. There's red, there's green, there's yellow, there's orange, there's jalapeno in there, there's maconi, there's sweet little peppers. Even though that batch is a bunch of random different pepper seeds that are in there, I don't care. I call it as my mix pack. Put it down, thing grows, you see all the different peppers. That's great. Perfect, right? A beautiful harmony of plants. Turn you on? No. Did I? What the fuck is going on here? There we go. Button's a little sticky. Turn you on. Turn you on. Some nice air movement in here. Oh, a quick way too, if you're trying to figure out if your trays need water, is when they're like pretty light. So here is another tray of tomato plants. We have a large cherry tomato growing here. We have a rainbow beefsteak, another rainbow beefsteak, another large cherry, a pineapple, a tomatillo, green zebra, a black beauty. We have a green zebra, another Tommy-Tello, and 3 Tiny Tims going across the front. Now, Tiny Tims are determinate tomatoes. They only grow to a foot tall. So those are great, and they're like little cherries. I haven't got them to grow yet. This is going to be my first season with them. So even though I only did a small amount of them, I was going to do more of them, but by the looks of things, I'm going to be pretty inundated this year with tomatoes. So it's going to get very interesting on how many tomato varieties that I'm going to be growing, and then trying to squeeze them all into the racks. And that's going to get into a really tricky stage because I'm not into killing my plants. So, and everybody probably that's watching this is like, I don't know what he's talking about. He's going to kill those plants anyway. No. I'll take all the hate and all the accusations all day long. That's fine, because when you guys are watching the tomato plants growing, and I'm going to start filming them a lot more and more as things get closer and closer to growing and harvesting and stuff. You guys are going to see that all the haters out there are just going to be like, I guess you could do that. Yes, TikTok is not going to tell you anything truth. Research and studying plant botany will teach you a lot about plants. Real educators of the world. The ones who want to be. Okay. You guys can get turned off as well. Okay. I don't think I have any heat mats running right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 are off, 8 is on. I got 1 that's left on. I don't need this on. It's actually telling me it's 71 degrees. So all of them are off right now. So all the heat mats are off. They're all sitting at an average like 70 to 71. Some are sitting at like 68, 69, which is kind of strange, more or less. But the rest of them are all pretty good. Here's a tray that I did of beet seeds. These are Detroit beet seeds. As you can see, the beets are popping up. The reason why I put them in here was so that I could actually start getting my beets growing. Get out of here, bug. I can start growing my beets. So I basically like cover this with seeds. I ran out, and I ended up buying some more Detroit beet seeds, which, like I said, I'm going to end up putting another batch. I'm going to wait till next week to run more seeds, just so that they're spaced apart. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to cover them. Now, I'm not growing the beets in here because it's not going to work. But I am going to be growing the beets in grow bags this year. And we have 3 grow bags that we're going to be running. So they're going to be full of beets, which are going to be great. Each beet plant only makes 1 beet. I don't know if you guys know that. If you don't, you know it now, and it kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So knowing that each plant makes 1 beet, you need a lot of beets. If you like beets. Beets are great. You can do a lot of things. You can even use them during Halloween time. If you're looking for like a natural food coloring, beets are the way to go. They have a nice red to them, and depending on the way that you are trying to extract the color out of it, you could have like a light red, almost like a pink, or you can have a dark blood red. So making like bloody looking food. Beets are the way to go for that. So let's see. Let's try this here. Here. Shoot back there. I'm condensing stuff on the other side. Moving everybody around. There. There. Shoot somewhere else so you don't fall. Whew. I'm over here. Okay. Pumpkins. Next one on our list. So over here you guys can see my fairy tale pumpkins. I put them towards each other so they kind of cause like a little bit of an arc. But I ended up throwing in Pumpkin Connecticut. Try to see if I can get any of those to grow. And it seems like the only ones that are still growing are the fairy tales and the coleuses. So who knows what's going on. Ooh, it's freaking humid in here, but it feels good. Alright. Sorry guys, let me push you. Alright, those guys back on the shelf. Okay. Another rack here. What do we got growing on in here? No idea. Oh. I'm like, we got a blank tag. We have dragon tongue beans that are trying to grow in here. And we can take the lid off. We could keep the lid on. We're gonna keep the lid on for these guys. They got some nice moisture in here. So they're going pretty good. Just a little water. And now these are going to be running with the lid on with no heat mat. And what we're going to do is we're going to close the back vent. We're going to leave the front vent open, and we're going to see what difference do we get. Either it makes a major difference or it doesn't. And we got some more beans running. We have the Taylor beans. So far, nothing is growing on in here. So I am not going to add any more water. There's plenty of water in there. It looks pretty good, so I'm not going to add anything. Just going to close the back vent, leave the front vent open, put it back on the tray, and that's it, on the shelf. Let's see. Alright, next one we got, many things, is we have impatiens that are growing, and we have calla lilies that are growing. So we got impatiens that are over here, and then these are the calla lilies that are growing. Healthy amount of watering. We have another plant that's next to them, which is the rocket larkspur, light blue, which I'm starting to see maybe some seedlings are starting to finally come up, but not yet. Messy one. I have it draining off to the side. I like, with the orange planters, what I like to do is I like to completely saturate them with water. And then when I fully saturate them with water, I tilt them off to the side to the pan, and I like to let them run out. Usually what I end up doing, and this takes a lot longer, so I'm kind of just doing it quick today. But usually what I end up doing is I have the pot, and I take the planter, and I put the planter on top of it, and I water it in. I'll show you guys that on the next one. I'm trying to just do it quick, more or less, just because a lot of them don't need all that kind of watering right now. But I'll show you on the next one. What happens is basically it will constantly moist the whole soil all the way down and saturate it. And then once it's all nice and saturated, then the water, you know, the soil will stay a lot moist longer, but I want to drain that water out because you don't want it to sit in stagnant water, which I have currently a lot of plants right now that are sitting on my floor that are sitting in stagnant water. So the way that what I do is I'll do the exact same thing as I'll drain the trays, and I'll drain that tray water all the way into the metal pot, and then that will then go into the watering can, and it's just a nice recycling of the water. So I'm not trying to save water anyway that way. It's just an easy way of constantly recycling stuff, and you know, all the different minerals and stuff, and all the fertilizers and different stuff that's in the soil will go down into the water, and then that water goes into the thing, and everybody's sharing the same water, so we all drink it anyway eventually, right? We're just drinking whale piss, right? Alright, so let's grab our next one. Our next one here we have is rose mallow. I'll show you what I used to do, what I was doing before, not used to do, but what I normally do. So I'll take my pot, put my tray on top of it, and I'll just carefully water it in. Such. And then I'll take this and I'll tilt it down on its side. While it's on its side like that, eventually you'll start hearing it drip, 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 dripping down. What I'm going to do from here is now I start grabbing all my plants that I have sitting on the ground, and I take them off, take them out of what they're sitting in their trays, and I'll have a rag, and I got another one too. I'll put the rag on the ground, you can hear it dripping now, and I'll put the plant on it, and then I start dumping all the water into it while the tray is dripping. I don't wait till the last one, but I wait until more or less once I start seeing the water coming out of the bottoms there, then I'll start doing it. Water from another tray. A couple trays, I should say. Well, anyway, everybody, I'm going to continually go down all my plants. I hope you guys like, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. I hope you stayed along for the wacky insanity of Mike over here in Growtopia. Everybody have a great day, and get out there and grow something. Turn your house into a jungle.